On this week's episode of Bayou Wild TV,
You know, as sportsmen, we see it with our own eyes. We see the erosion, we see the saltwater intrusion, and I think more sportsmen need to get involved because we know what's at stake. We know what we're losing.
And the whole thing is stabilizing this coast, and the beach rim gets reestablished. And so it makes elevation, and so you're restoring a chenier back to give you that first line of defense. That's how we can manage this habitat the way it is so it doesn't change or degrades or even gets lost.
there you go. It's one of those Cameron Parish redfish. Get ready to dress him up with a tag and track him. If you catch him, let me know.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Global Outdoors. Find your next adventure and share your experiences with others by downloading the Global Outdoors mobile app or visiting globaloutdoors.com.
Every day, we strive to preserve traditions that have spanned generations.
Around every turn of the bayou, Mother Nature reveals unique people, places, and experiences.
And the bounty of animals and fish. Well, in Louisiana, we just call that lagniappe. I'm Don Dubuque.
I'm Chris LeCoq.
I'm Captain Martha Spencer. Join us as we document the adventure,
Sportsmanship,
And heritage that make us Bayou Wild.
The fish were stacked up, the water looks great, and the place is healthy. And that's what we were here to show.
On previous episodes of Bayou Wild TV,
You know, as sportsmen, you have to have some type of conservation in you. And I think a lot of sportsmen do. We realize what's happening around us, but nobody's being proactive about it. There's nothing that normal duck hunters and fishermen, the guys you talk to day in, day out, that are really working towards, conservation.
today we're back with Vanishing Paradise, highlighting more coastal restoration work in one of Louisiana's prime areas for wildlife, Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge.
Amazing place, the amount of life it supports. You could look at the birds right here. The ducks, the geese, the fish.
There's no better way to serve perfect crawfish than with King Cooker's wide variety of high-jet burners, boiling pots, straining baskets, seafood paddles, and check out King Cooker's special serving tables and trays. Make your seafood boil party easy and perfectly tasty. Find a retailer near you or go to kingcookerwithak.com and use discount code DDKK23 and save on your King Cooker products. That's kingcooker.com, discount code DDKK23. Hi, Don Dubuque inviting you to the 43rd Annual Louisiana Sportsman Show presented by Shell, the fishing and hunting sales event of the year. Fishing and hunting gear, boats, tractors, RVs, ATVs, ammunition, live music, fetch and fish, kids' activities, and the Big Buck Contest is back. Parking's free. The Louisiana Sportsman Show at Lamar Dixon Gonzalez, Friday, March 17th through Sunday. Visit LouisianaSportsmanShow.com. Sponsored by Louisiana Land Bank, Beto, A&M Contractors, Neighbors Federal Credit Union, and Ascension Parish Tourism.
In Louisiana, food brings everyone together. These are the flavors that make friends out of total strangers. The flavors that remind you of home. It's the meals you crave, that take time, that show love. Because in Louisiana, we cook. And we know that when we come together to cook and eat, life gets better. So pull up a chair, leave room for seconds, and pass a good time. Because life needs Louisiana flavor, baby.
I'm Gracie Reisman. I recently won a talent award at Miss America for clogging. It's a pretty unique talent, so the Louisiana propane dealers asked me to tell you about some unique safety features about your propane tanks. First, they are certified for 12 years. After that, you must have them recertified or replaced. If you make any changes to a home unit, you must have it inspected by a certified propane dealer. And that's the law. Find out more at louisianapropane.com.
This is Don Dubuque asking you to join me as a member of the Coastal Conservation Association. For 30 years, CCA has worked in Louisiana to conserve our incredible fisheries, making sure that our fishing is great today and for generations to come. Whether looking out for redfish and specks, eliminating gill nets, building reefs across the coast, or work at the state capitol and in D.C., CCA is doing what's best for the fish and the sport we love so much. Your $30 membership will ensure that this work and our great fishing endures well into the future. Go to ccalouisiana.com and join CCA today. Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge, located in southwestern Louisiana, borders the Gulf of Mexico for 26 miles and extends inland to the Grand Chenier Ridge. When the property was donated in 1919, the footprint covered nearly 86,000 acres of Louisiana's coast. And for birds migrating down the Mississippi Flyway, this marshland is always on their radar. More than 215 species of birds have been found on the refuge. Thousands of ducks and geese and other migratory birds claim this marshland as their wintering grounds.
The refuge was established 100 years ago. Rockefeller Refuge has been expanded since its original purpose, not in terms of acreage, but in terms of ability to manage for wildlife. We now have 15 different impoundment complexes where we can manage water levels, we can manage salinity, and by being able to manage, we can even further increase wildlife populations on this refuge.
But in the past 100 years, it's believed that coastal erosion has led to over 15,000 acres of subsidence of this rich ecosystem. It's easy to understand why the need to preserve this area is always on our state's priority list. Today, we're touring Rockefeller with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries biologists who are tasked with managing this fragile habitat.
This is the start of a new thing. This is what's described through CPRA as ME18 Rockefeller Shoreline Protection Project. The unique issue here is our substrates are very weak, and so the soil can only support about 200 pounds per square foot. Well, we couldn't put a 1,000-pound rock here because it'd sink out of sight. So what we had to do was engineer and design a product which is described as light core aggregate, and it's placed in these big massive pillows, and it's placed down, and then we put the rock on top. It cuts 50% of the weight out. And the problem is it's expensive, but when you look at saving the coast here, we have no other choice. This was the best thing we could come up with that would last, you know, as long as it could, hopefully above its 20-year life predicted. If y'all want, we can walk down. If you want to kind of get an idea, you might be able to see some of that.
So, Scooter, with Vanishing Paradise, you know, I deal with sportsmen day in and day out. You know, we talk duck hunting, we talk fishing. How does this project right here that CPRA did benefit the fisheries in this area?
Immediately responded to the recreation fishing opportunities. The water clarity has improved so much. I would say for 10 years, from my experience, I didn't catch a speckled trout. Since we built these rocks, speckled trout have showed up in great numbers. Everyone's catching. Schools of redfish in the afternoons during the summertime, July, August, you'll see just massive schools of redfish along the rocks. We're now seeing oyster beds being created, whereas before you didn't have any oyster reefs. Since 1990, when I first got out here working for Rockefeller Refuge as a student, this outlet in this beach, where it hit the Gulf, was 3,600 feet south of here. Yeah, and so, you know, that land alone means so much in so many different ways. And you look at a hurricane, what's the only thing that can weaken a storm is putting it over land. So that 3,600 feet is going to determine if that wind's going to be 130 miles an hour, 50 miles north of here in a populated area, or is it going to be 90 miles, or is it going to be 75 miles an hour?
Coming up next, restoration and conservation is not just for the birds. A quick stop on a refuge canal for some roadside fishing turns into a demonstration of our state's fish tagging program.
So once I've tagged a fish and I'm going to release it, one of the biggest things is efficiency. So I want to tag this individual as quickly as I can, and when I go to release it in the water, holding it upright, you know, get some oxygen going over their gills and, you know, letting them get a chance to recover after being pulled out of the water for a little bit.
One of the reasons why Double D has been around for 50 years is because we are consistent with what built the business. And we go to great lengths to make sure that when you bring a deer or a hog or whatever it may be, your meat stays your meat all the way through the process. But we want to be as true to the original intent, which is a local meat company. And that's something that we want to maintain for as long as the Lord lets us do it.
Delta Marina is Plaquemines Parish fishing one-stop. Get live bait, fuel, ice, tackle, and marine supplies. Then launch into the world's most productive saltwater fishing. Return to the fishing cleaning station, relax in first-class cabins overlooking the bayou, all in Delta Marina's safety video-monitored parking lot. Need a fishing charter guide? Delta Marina can hook you up. Cook your catch in your kitchenette or dine in the upstairs restaurant. Visit Delta Marina for a day or a week. Stop in just off Highway 11 down Rosemarie Drive in Empire. Visit thedeltamarina.com.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do, from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstance, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the hardest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a nonprofit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference.
There's no better way to serve perfect crawfish than with King Cooker's wide variety of high-jet burners, boiling pots, straining baskets, seafood paddles, and check out King Cooker's special serving tables and trays. Make your seafood boil party easy and perfectly tasty. Find a retailer near you or go to kingcookerwithak.com and use discount code DDKK23 and save on your King Cooker products. That's kingcooker.com, discount code DDKK23.
Continuing this week's show.
Since we built these rocks, speckled trout have showed up in great numbers. Everyone's catching. Schools of redfish in the afternoons during the summertime, July, August, you'll see just massive schools of redfish along the rocks. Immediately responded to the recreation fishing opportunities.
So we're catching some redfish right now, and the bite's pretty good considering the water clarity. And I think that has to do with the weather a little bit. Temperature dropped pretty fast, and that usually seems to turn them on. We've caught about 15 redfish in 30 minutes or so, and they all seem to have paintbrush tails, so I guess they're feeding. And there you go. It was like that was time.
So what you want to do is try and get it under the scale, where you get the meaty part.
And straight in.
Yep, straight in, and then you usually do a little tug test to make sure it's seated in correctly. It's really cool to be able to see where a fish is in a certain date and time. And at least with my project, it's looking at the exchange between the Gulf and also the inshore waters. So looking at connectivity of red drum, spotted sea trout, and southern flounder and Rockefeller. So I had tagged some red drum, some trout and flounder, and basically for the last couple years been just monitoring where they're going. And now we're in the stages of compiling all that detection data and coupling that with different environmental variables, whether that's barometric pressure, the solunar, the water temperature, the salinity of the water, the time of year. So those are all things that we essentially put into a model to see what could be influencing a fish's presence or absence in certain areas. I'm ready when you are.
We got 18.
18? 18 even.
The fishing here today at Rockefeller was pretty easy fishing. Simply went to one of the weirs and threw over some plastic baits. Redfish were waiting on us. They were very cooperative.
You know, red drum have really thick scales. They have pretty decent slime coat, so they can handle kind of being roughed around a little bit more, but trout, they're just so delicate that even just a hand mark can make a big difference. So it's really just minimize handling time, keep them in the water if you can. That'll definitely help.
They were kind of stacked up in there. Seemed like it was a little cold, but the fish seemed to be active. Had to throw on the bottom, bounce it a couple of times, and hang on.
Just tagging them and letting them go. We're gonna see what the data says, see where they get caught again. Gabby was telling me they tagged one fish out here and it ended up getting caught or getting tracked all the way to an oil rig, I think south of Fouchon. Pretty interesting.
For the most part, fish are more resilient than you think that they are, and usually you can gauge, you know, if a fish is bleeding out a lot, it might not make it, but if it is a little bit, I have full faith that it will be able to recover just right.
When I think about it, all this work that you're doing helps us sportsmen, and you know, I can't thank you enough for finding this data, and you know, you have the science to back it up of what these fish are doing and when they're doing it. And I feel like this is very important to restoration projects, you know, because it gives us an idea of how humans and wildlife can continue to thrive in a rapidly changing world.
That's definitely.
Yeah.
This is Don Dubuque asking you to join me as a member of the Coastal Conservation Association. For 30 years, CCA has worked in Louisiana to conserve our incredible fisheries, making sure that our fishing is great today and for generations to come. Whether looking out for redfish and specks, eliminating gill nets, building reefs across the coast, or work at the state capitol and in D.C., CCA is doing what's best for the fish and the sport we love so much. Your $30 membership will ensure that this work and our great fishing endures well into the future. Go to ccalouisiana.com and join CCA today.
In 1967, Dutch Stogner realized his dream to run his own meat market. 50 years and 3 generations later, Double D and the Stogner family still operate with Dutch's original commitment to quality. Pick up some Double D sausage today and share your good times with us on Facebook.
There's no better way to serve perfect crawfish than with King Cooker's wide variety of high-jet burners, boiling pots, straining baskets, seafood paddles, and check out King Cooker's special serving tables and trays. Make your seafood boil party easy and perfectly tasty. Find a retailer near you or go to kingcookerwithak.com and use discount code DDKK23 and save on your King Cooker products. That's kingcooker.com, discount code DDKK23.
In Louisiana, food brings everyone together. These are the flavors that make friends out of total strangers. The flavors that remind you of home. It's the meals you crave, that take time, that show love. Because in Louisiana, we cook. And we know that when we come together to cook and eat, life gets better. So pull up a chair, leave room for seconds, and pass a good time. Because life needs Louisiana flavor, baby.
So this is called a Unit 4, which is, Unit 4 is about 5,700 acres. Yeah, so this is a new design water control structure that we've tried, but you have the stop log base structure, which controls your elevation of your water level. You can set stop logs to manage that certain level. But then on the outside, you have the flat gate that when tides drop, they'll open up, allow water to flow. There were a lot of guys catching redfish here 2 weeks ago. We had a group and we came out. There were 3 boats right here and all 3 boats were hooked up.
Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge, what a place. For the Bayou Wild crew, this was a quick peek into what our state's biologists carry out here on a daily basis. It surely warrants a return to discover more of this true sportsman's paradise.
You know, as sportsmen, we see it with our own eyes. We see the erosion, we see the saltwater intrusion. All these play factors, but to see somebody like yourself, a sportsman, getting involved with this work, you know, it really is eye-opening. And I think more sportsmen need to get involved because we know what's at stake. We know what we're losing.
The land, we need every inch of it.
Yeah.
Because we haven't lost it yet. We've got to protect it. At least Southwest Louisiana, we still are established. But we're going to have to draw the line and we're going to have to protect from here to there from now on. We can't afford to lose anymore.
Well, that'd be perfect for the pan too. But we're not cooking them today.
There's a lot of activities and resources here at Rockefeller, and it's one of the places that really doesn't get as much attention as the amount of acreage that you think it would. You can find out all about the hunting and fishing rules and regulations and how to enjoy this beautiful place by going to the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries website and look under WMAs and refuges.
Grow up, grow big, and grow strong, fish. Till next time.
Thanks to Vanishing Paradise and the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries for inviting us to Rockefeller. The work carried out here is a true testament to the dedicated individuals who help manage and preserve the adventure, sportsmanship, and heritage of Bayou Wild.